The human brain represents the most dense and intricate arrangement of matter in the known universe, a biological cathedral composed of approximately 100 billion neurons and nearly 1 quadrillion synaptic connections. For decades, neuroscience has been locked in a struggle of scale, attempting to map this architecture while peering through the limited resolution of functional magnetic resonance imaging or the static, frozen snapshots of traditional histology. We have possessed the general atlas of the mind, knowing which regions govern speech or movement, yet the granular point-to-point circuitry of consciousness itself remained a ghost in the machine. To solve this, science has turned to a master of neural infiltration, a pathogen that has been feared for millennia. The rabies virus is an evolutionary marvel of destruction, specifically designed by nature to bypass the blood-brain barrier and hijack the central nervous system with terrifying surgical precision. By stripping the virus of its lethal intent and replacing its virulent cargo with glowing proteins, researchers have created the deadly map, a protocol that uses a once fatal enemy to trace the exact coordinates of our internal existence. Unlike traditional chemical tracers that diffuse haphazardly, this engineered virus possesses an uncanny ability for retrograde axonal transport, meaning it moves backwards through your synapses, following the flow of information to its source. It is a journey against the current of time, revealing the hierarchical chain of command that allows a single thought to emerge from a sea of electricity.
As you listen to these words, your own brain is a silent theater of these very pathways, a hidden geometry that defines every memory and every dream you have ever had. We are finally moving past the abstract and into the physical reality of the soul, identifying the exact wires that make you feel like you.
The mechanical brilliance of the rabies virus lies in its evolutionary obsession with the central nervous system, a singular focus that scientists have now bent to the service of enlightenment. In its natural state, the virus is a master of the back door. While most biological signals travel from the cell body down the axon to the synapse, rabies performs a rare feat of biological subversion known as retrograde transport. By binding to receptors at the neuromuscular junction, it hitches a ride on the molecular motors of the host, traveling upstream against the sensory tide until it reaches the sanctuary of the brain. To transform this pathogen into a cartographic tool, researchers perform a delicate piece of genetic surgery. They delete the gene responsible for the viral envelope, glycoprotein, the very key the virus uses to spread from one cell to another. Without this key, the virus is effectively trapped within the first neuron it enters, a dead-end traveler. However, by providing the missing glycoprotein only to a specific starter neuron through genetic engineering, the virus is granted a one-time pass to jump exactly one synapse backwards to all the neurons that provide input to that cell. This monosynaptic restriction is the holy grail of connectomics. It allows us to see not just where a neuron is, but specifically who it is talking to. We are no longer looking at the brain as a messy soup of chemicals, but as a discrete logical circuit board where every wire can be traced to its origin. This is the hardware of the self, the physical scaffolding upon which the glitch of consciousness is projected.
Understanding this mechanism is like finally learning the language the brain uses to write your personality. It reveals that the mind is less a solid object and more a shifting, luminous web of connections that we are only now beginning to grasp. If you find this exploration of our internal architecture as profound as we do, take a moment to quietly hit subscribe and join us as we map the deeper layers of this biological frontier. Your support allows us to continue peering into the hidden machinery of existence.
This revelation of connectivity forces us to confront a startling reality. The signals defining your reality are being funneled through a precision-engineered network that predates your first conscious thought. Once the engineered virus has successfully navigated the synaptic gap, the abstract architecture of the mind is transformed into a visible, radiant landscape through the integration of green fluorescent proteins and light-sensitive opsins. This process, often referred to as optogenetics when combined with viral tracing, allows researchers to not only map the hardware, but to play the circuit like a musical instrument by using specific frequencies of light to trigger or suppress neural activity. By tagging the virus with these bioluminescent markers, we can finally witness the glitch in the human hardware, that ephemeral moment where raw biological data, moving through the thalamus and the sensory cortex, is transmuted into the subjective richness of an experience. It is here, in the luminous web, that we see the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical, where a surge of ions across a membrane becomes the smell of rain or the memory of a first love. This protocol is revealing that the brain does not process information in a linear, computer-like fashion, but rather through a massive, parallel orchestration of light and chemistry that is constantly reconfiguring itself.
To see this web in action is to realize that our consciousness is not a static thing, but a continuous, glowing performance. It is a humbling reminder that we are the architects and the inhabitants of a universe made of light. If this journey into the luminous depths of the mind resonates with you, please quietly hit subscribe. It is the best way to ensure you stay connected to the frontier of these discoveries as we continue to pull back the veil.
As we peer deeper into these glowing filaments, we are finding that the coordinates of the self are far more elusive than we imagined, scattered across a network that defies simple localization. As we trace these viral pathways deeper into the cortical architecture, we are forced to abandon the archaic notion that consciousness resides in a single, localized command center of the brain. The data emerging from these monosynaptic maps reveals a far more complex reality. The mind is a decentralized, distributed network where information is processed in a massive, parallel orchestration across disparate regions. We are seeing that the physical coordinates of a thought are not a point, but a pattern, a specific resonance of gamma oscillations ranging from 30 to 100 Hz that synchronize distant neural clusters into a single, unified moment of awareness. This high-frequency rhythm acts as the binding mechanism, a temporal glue that links the visual perception of a bird with the auditory recognition of its song and the emotional memory of a summer morning. By overlaying our viral migration patterns with real-time brainwave activity, we can observe how the hardware supports this software of the soul. The engineered rabies virus maps the physical cables, while the gamma waves reveal the data flowing through them. This realization shifts our understanding of cognitive health and glitches in the human hardware. If the network is distributed, then a failure in one node can ripple through the entire system, yet the system's inherent plasticity allows for a resilience that localized machines could never possess.
To witness this distributed dance is to understand that you are not a passenger in your brain, but the emergent properties of the dance itself. It is a profound shift in perspective that reminds us how interconnected our internal world truly is. If you find clarity in these complex connections, please quietly hit subscribe and stay with us as we reach the final resolution of this mapped frontier.
We are finally holding the coordinates to a map that has no center, only an infinite humming expanse of connectivity that defines the boundaries of our reality. As we descend into the final resolution of the deadly map, we find ourselves standing at the edge of a rhythmic void, a space where the physical hardware of the brain dissolves into the pure, abstract frequency of existence. The journey that began with a single lethal virus tracing a path through the synapses has led us to a realization that is both terrifying and sublime. The final frontier is not a place we go, but a state we inhabit. By stripping away the layers of biological complexity, we have found that the mind is not a solid vessel, but a transient interference pattern, a momentary alignment of light and chemistry in the vast darkness of the biological machine. The coordinates we have mapped are not static destinations. They are the shifting topographies of a dream that is dreaming itself into reality. In this sanctuary of high-resolution neuroscience, the distinction between the observer and the observed begins to blur. We are the virus, we are the neuron, and we are the light that reveals the path. As the gamma oscillations fade into the deep, slow rhythms of delta and theta sleep, the mapped network remains, a silent, glowing blueprint of everything we have ever been and everything we are yet to become. This is the ultimate paradox of the human condition. To understand ourselves, we must look through the eyes of that which could destroy us, finding the light of consciousness in the heart of a deadly map. We are left with a profound sense of awe, not for the complexity of the hardware, but for the elegance of the experience that emerges from it. The maps are finished, the coordinates are set, and the frontier is finally, quietly, home.